Let's talk about the moment when it all comes crashing down. The sticker chart isn't working anymore. The marble jar isn't motivating anyone. The clip chart is absolutely pointless. And you start thinking, did I mess this up? What did I do wrong? Did they just not care anymore? If your kindergarten behavior system feels like it stopped working, this episode is for you. Welcome to the Kindergarten Toolbox Podcast. I'm your host, Amy Murray, here to help you simplify kindergarten with tools and strategies that actually work with real live 5 and 6-year-olds. Let's dive into your shortcut to calmer days and more confident writers. Typically, behavior systems don't fail just overnight. Like one day you walk in and it's not working anymore. Usually they start to fade because the structure or consistency isn't strong enough or consistent enough to make them work. And today we're going to talk about what actually makes a good incentive or reward or behavior system, choose your own vocabulary word, what makes it work, and how to fix it when things aren't working well. Before we get too far into things, please remember this is not a personal failure if your behavior system isn't working as well as you want it to. There is a lot of trial and error that goes into strong classroom management. It doesn't usually happen overnight, and you've got to find the tools that work best for you. So it's not you. You just need to find the system that works best for you inside of your classroom. And let's remember a couple of truths. Kindergartners are impulsive, they're easily distracted, and they are learning how to be in school. Okay, that's a big part of this. And we've got to pair any system we use with teaching them self-regulation tools, how to be in school, these social emotional skills that they need to be successful. And that's not what this particular episode is all about, but that is a big component of strong classroom management. They've got to go together. The most common failure, if you will, in classroom management is the lack of consistency. And often well-meaning teachers think they're being consistent, but when you pull back the curtain and actually look from a 360 view of what's happening, you're not actually consistent. And that's where things start to fall apart. And I can use myself as an example for that. Anytime I started to use something new in my classroom, if it was overly complicated, I was not type A enough to keep up with it. I didn't have the time to even remember at the end of the day to reset the clips. I would forget almost every day. And then the kids would come back and have to reset their clips themselves way back when I used the clip chart. It didn't work. I wasn't bought into the system. I wasn't consistent with it. So do you think the kids were? Absolutely not. They weren't bought in either. It wasn't working for any of us. And I often see well-meaning teachers with all of these awesome ideas, like they want to try the lucky duck. They want to try a mystery student. They want to try to pass out tickets and have a classroom economy and all of these cool things. And they're shiny and cute and pretty. But if you can't keep up with all of them consistently, there's no chance any of them are going to be effective. We know consistency is the most important part here. And so now your wheels are probably turning, thinking of what system you could possibly implement in your classroom. And that is perfect. But there are some things that all strong behavior systems have in common. And number one is a strong visual component, especially in kindergarten. If you've listened to any of my other podcast episodes at this point, or you're familiar with me at all, you know visuals are a non-negotiable for me in the kindergarten classroom. They are a must. They level the playing field for all of your learners. And when I say your behavior system needs to have visuals, I'm talking for just about every component. But the most important one is for your goal. And we'll talk about choosing a specific goal later. But you don't want just the words there, right? If your goal is work quietly, then they should see an icon with, the quiet symbol over somebody's mouth, the finger over your mouth, or something to that effect. So they know, oh, look, that's right. We're working on being quiet. So you don't have to say it all day long. You can point to it and they can remember that's the goal that we're working on. Same for your reward. What are they earning when they meet their goal? Okay, if that reward is a dance party, then your icon should have a little kid dancing on there, right? If it is PJ day, some kids in pajamas, that sort of thing is really important so that kids understand what the goal is, what they're working for. It really helps with buy-in, and it helps everyone who walks into your room to know what your students are working on, like what their behavior goal is, and what they are working to earn. Then everybody can help reinforce your expectations. Next component of strong behavior systems is focusing on one behavior at a time. And that can be a big challenge because what if your class is super loud during transitions, they never remember to raise their hand, and they're running down the halls, just for an example. That can drive you absolutely crazy and you want to fix it all at once. But I'm telling you, it is way more effective to choose the one that bothers you the most, which one really gets under your skin, or the one that is the most disruptive, and focus there first, master that skill, and then move on to another behavior goal. It really is much more effective to choose one behavior. Like if your class is really struggling with working quietly, start there. Have your little symbol of working quietly and focus on that. If they are constantly being rude or mean to each other or to you or talking back, focus on kindness first. And the more specific your goal is, the easier it's going to be to stay consistent with your students, and the easier it's going to be for any adult who walks into your classroom to reinforce your expectations. So make sure you have strong visuals, one behavior at a time, clear expectations with one focus, and you're well on your way to success. Now, the next part is important, especially in kindergarten. They need to be able to see their progress. It's got to be visual. So maybe you have a 10 frame and their goal is to get 10 tokens on the 10 frame. Once that's filled, they get their reward. Maybe you're using one of our build a reward charts and they're building a snowman and they can see all the parts of the snowman that need to be added. Once the snowman's complete, they get the reward. They can see how many they've earned and how many are left to earn. That's really important in kindergarten. I've seen teachers use like marble jars, or they throw pom-poms in a jar and it's like, oh, we earn a handful for this, we earn a handful for that. Well, how many handfuls does it take to fill that jar? How long is it going to take to fill that jar? That's a bit abstract for kindergarten. They need the visual so they can track it and they can see what's left to earn. It helps build anticipation. It builds their excitement. It helps you to stay consistent. And then you're building that trust with them because they can see what's left to earn. The question that I am asked most often about behavior charts or incentive charts is, how often do you award a piece? So if you're using a 10 frame, if whatever system, stickers, however you're doing it, is how often do you give them a piece? Well, this really will depend on what your goal is. For example, if your goal is to work quietly during centers, then every day after centers, take a minute and say, all right, kindergarten, did we work quietly today? Give me a thumbs up if you think we were quiet. Thumbs down if you don't think we were quiet today. And then you can talk about it. If you agree with them that they were quiet, then award the piece to the chart. If they were off their rockers and noisy, then don't give them a piece of the chart. But you see, having that check-in every day allows you to be consistent, helps them to buy in, and then they'll look forward to it. And it gives you a chance to say, you know what, we were really noisy today, but we are going to try again tomorrow. On the other hand, if your goal is to raise their hand before calling out, you may want to award a piece of your chart every time someone remembers to raise their hand, because you want them all to start to raise their hand. So you want them all to have the experience of putting a piece on the chart. Maybe not everybody, but you get the idea. You want them to start buying in quickly. This may mean that you are meeting your goal daily for a while, and then maybe you spread it out or pull back. You know your kids best, but it's okay to pick like a free reward, like a dance party at the end of the day, if they meet their goals that day. However, it works best for you. It's fine to do it once a day. It's fine to do it 10 times a day, whatever your class needs, as long as you can implement it consistently. And I won't get too high on my soapbox right now about this, but please remember that a behavior system, an incentive chart, they are there to help students to be successful, not to catch them being bad. And that's really important to remember as you're implementing this. You don't want to start taking things away. You want to catch them being good and build on those successes. Please remember this key takeaway. The key to any successful behavior system or classroom management system is consistency. It has to be simple enough that you are able to implement it with consistency so that kids stay bought in and trust you and trust that the system is going to work the way you said it would. Because that predictability builds your credibility and in turn, their trust. If some days it matters that they work quietly and other days it doesn't matter that they work quietly, and some days you're awarding points and other days you aren't, and some days they get a handful of this and some days there's a lucky duck and other days there's not, forget it. They're not going to stay bought in and you're not going to maintain it. So pick a simple system with one behavior at a time, clear, concrete visuals, and a visual tracker so everybody can stay on board and consistent, and you will be set up for success. What if the behavior system that you have in your classroom has already stopped working or feels like blah, right? It's not going well. All right, then run to our website, grab our free donut build a reward chart, and try it tomorrow. You'll find a couple of behavior goals, specific ones to choose from with visuals, and lots of free reward options with the visuals, and the visual tracking is putting the donuts into the donut box. It's absolutely free for our email subscribers. I will leave a link for you in the show notes so you can give that a try. Now, the beauty of this system is once you use it and it works with your students, you can swap out these pictures to keep it feeling fresh, to keep them bought in, because that can be a tricky piece that we're going to do a whole nother podcast episode on, is how to keep them bought in. But once you get this system implemented, you can swap it out with any of our other Builder rewards and they will instantly know what to do, but it will feel fresh and new because the pictures are a little bit different. And if you already happen to be using our free donut reward system in your classroom and you're ready for more, please check out Kindergarten Management Toolbox. We have every single reward incentive chart for whole class and individual students, and all our Glow and Grow notes, all the things you need to be consistent with your classroom management, all in one spot. So definitely check out that link in the show notes as well. If your behavior system isn't working right now, it doesn't mean you failed. It means your structure and consistency probably need some strengthening. So set one specific behavior goal, pair it with a visual, choose a reward. Same thing. Remember that visual. Use visual progress, make sure it's simple enough that you can use it consistently, and you will see the results. I cannot wait to hear how this goes for you. Please reach out on Instagram at Teaching Exceptional Kinders. I'd love to hear about your progress. Thanks for listening to the Kindergarten Toolbox. I'm Amy Murray, and I'm so glad you're here. Be sure to check the show notes for all the links and resources from today's episode. For even more tips, tools, and support, head to teachingexceptionalkinders.com or connect with me on Instagram at teachingexceptionalkinders. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow along and subscribe to the show and take a minute to leave a review. It helps other kindergarten teachers to find us too. Teaching kindergarten is tough, but you're not alone. Here's to calmer days and more confident writers. You've got this.